Hi everyone, this is video 3, week 2, and it's the last video in this week's selection of videos, pre-recorded material. So far, what we've done is we've introduced an understanding of the meaningfulness of the word not, which Wittgenstein doesn't like. Then we had 2 videos with 2 different criticisms of that understanding of the meaningfulness of the word not. And now we're going to look at Wittgenstein's own alternative. And importantly, Wittgenstein's own alternative leads him to the picture theory of propositions. So the first thing to say is we looked at the criticism with respect to inference, and we said that if the sentence "the cat is on the mat" and its double negation are both true in different cases, then you've got a problem explaining why an inference which is valid is valid. Wittgenstein thinks that your explanation of why that inference is valid is not going to be satisfactory. So this immediately points Wittgenstein in a certain direction. Wittgenstein draws from this kind of consideration the following conclusion. The sentence "the cat is on the mat" and the sentence "it's not the case that it's not the case that the cat is on the mat," those 2 sentences can't be true in different cases. So this is one of the realizations that Wittgenstein comes to after criticizing his opponents. He says it's got to be a requirement that these sentences are true in the same case. And that is, intuitively speaking, on the right lines. Well, this is what Ramsey thinks. Ramsey, in the reading, he thinks they've got to be true in the same case. That's a kind of intuition that he holds. And Wittgenstein says, yeah, they've got to be true in the same case. Because if they're true in different cases, you get a proliferation of facts to infinity, which is absurd, and you can't really get at why the inference is valid. So this leads Wittgenstein to the picture theory of propositions. How does it do that? Well, in the reading from the notebooks uploaded to Canvas, Wittgenstein observes the following feature about pictures. He has a picture of 2 stick men fighting, and he says, well, any picture can be used to say how things are, and the very same picture can be used to say how things are not. So Wittgenstein makes that observation and it really interests him. He thinks, I've wanted to give an explanation of the meaningfulness of the word not, which doesn't involve it's referring to a logical object. And when you look at a picture, you can use the same picture to say how things are and how things are not. So Wittgenstein thinks, well, if I conceive of propositions as pictures, then I'm on the right lines to giving it an explanation of the word not, which doesn't involve its being a referring item. So Wittgenstein thinks, when you use a picture to say how things are, what you do is you compare the picture with reality in a certain way. You compare the picture with reality to see if what is represented in the picture exists. And when you use a picture to say how things are not, you use the picture to compare you compare the picture with reality to see if what is represented does not obtain. So the difference between using a picture to say how things are and using a picture to say how things aren't isn't that the 2 pictures say something different or represent different things. They do say different things, but they don't represent different things. He thinks that all that changes between asserting something and denying something with a picture is the way you use the picture to compare it with reality. That's quite abstract, and I think the main thing to notice is that what changes when you use a picture to assert something and the same picture to deny something isn't what is represented. In both cases, the subject matter is exactly the same. It's the same thing which is represented. The only thing that changes is your kind of method of comparison. So what changes isn't any content or represented material. What changes is your method of comparing it with reality. So this makes Wittgenstein think, well, the word negation can't be conceived of as changing the content of a sentence, i.e. changing what a sentence represents. Because as we saw, if it does that, then you've got sentences and their double negations being true in different cases. And what Wittgenstein's consideration of pictures tells him is that when you perform, when you make a denial, i.e. you include the word not before a picture, you don't change what is represented. All you do is change the way you compare what is represented with reality. What is represented is the same. So Wittgenstein thinks, well, the word not doesn't refer to an object that features in the thing which is represented. The word not indicates an operation. It indicates a way that you are supposed to compare the picture with reality. In particular, the word not indicates that you're supposed to reverse the way that you were comparing the proposition with reality in the affirmative case. So Wittgenstein says negation reverses the sense of a proposition. What does Wittgenstein mean by this? Wittgenstein means that in the affirmative case, the cat's on the mat, you use the picture, let's call sentences pictures now, because that's what Wittgenstein thinks. You use the picture to compare the picture with reality to see if what is represented exists out there. Now, if you have the same sentence but with the word not in front of it, that word not tells you, whoever is understanding the sentence, that the method of comparison has changed. And in fact, it's reversed. So you're no longer checking to see if what is represented exists out there in the world. You're checking to see if what is represented doesn't exist in the world. Yeah? But what is represented is the same in both cases. And negation reverses the method of comparison. It doesn't change what's represented, it changes how you are supposed to compare what is represented with reality. How does this help Wittgenstein explain the validity of the inference from the cat is on the mat to the double negation of that sentence? Remember, this is what he wants to explain. Well, consideration of pictures has taught Wittgenstein that the word not is an operation that we perform. It changes the way we compare the thing with reality. It doesn't change what's represented. And in particular, in the case of negation, negation does something called reversing the comparison. Well, Wittgenstein says, if you've got one sentence, the cat is on the mat, and a double negation of that sentence, what you've done is you've reversed the comparison twice. You've taken the picture, which says the original affirmative claim, the cat is on the mat, which says, compare me with reality to see if what I represent exists. Now you take the same picture and you add the word not, and now the picture says, compare me with reality to see if what I represent doesn't exist. Well, you want to double negate, so you add another not. And this reverses, this performs a second reversal. So now the picture just says, compare me with reality to see if what I represent exists. And what I represent is the same as what's represented in the basic affirmative case. So that's why the inference is valid. Because in the double negation, you've just performed a reversal twice, cancelling each other out, i.e. you've just done something redundant, and you've got the same picture as in the first case, telling you to compare it with reality in the same way as you did in the first case. That's why the inference is valid. Because you performed two operations which cancel each other out, which is the same as not performing the operation at all. So then you've got the same picture as you had before, and you're comparing it with reality in the same way as you were in the former case. That's why the inference is valid, because you're just doing the same thing. So Wittgenstein thinks that we have to understand the word not as indicating a change in our method of comparison of the picture with reality. And importantly, we can't conceive of the word not as altering the actual represented content. That's the difference between an operation, like negation, and a normal word, like the word Ollie, which has a referent. That contributes to the actual content of the picture, the word Ollie. If I said the cat is on the mat next to Ollie, we've got loads of new content there. But if I say it's not the case that it's not the case that the cat's on the mat, we don't have any new content. We've just got two words which indicate that you're supposed to perform an operation. So Wittgenstein thinks that's a better way of understanding the validity of inference. And that's what tells him, well, one, you don't get a proliferation of facts, because the sentence, the original affirmative sentence and its double negation are true in exactly the same case. So you don't have an infinite proliferation of facts, and you have an understanding of why that inference is valid, because you're comparing the same picture with reality in the same way as you were in the other case. You're just doing the same thing. So that's Wittgenstein's answer to all of these issues with the word not. I hope that makes some sense, and hope it, combined with the lecture notes, I hope it illuminates the reading a bit. And this week we will look at the text itself and get into it and try and pry apart some of the more specific things that Wittgenstein says. So that's the last video. Thanks everyone for watching, and look forward to the in-person sessions when we tackle the text itself. Cheers, guys.